the All-Star Supercast. I'm Haz from Favour. This is Jay from J Horn Illustration, and this is Joe, who's just recently rejoined us from a Gary Newman cover band that only sings Cars.
Told
you like that one.
It's less degrading than ones usually get.
Yeah, that's the standard of which I set. Which one doesn't make me look homeless, penniless?
I mean, we're just telling the truth, unfortunately.
Except I wasn't in a cover band.
He's actually just on a corner singing Cars. At Cars.
At Cars. I don't get out much.
So today we watched the first 3 episodes of the Death Note anime.
Yeah!
So good.
So much better than last time's.
Got that bitter taste out my mouth.
It was a little bit. I mean, last week when you gave me that film and then you gave me this, it was a little bit like sort of, you know, somebody saying, "Hey, rinse your mouth out with salt water and then we'll give you a beer." You know, it's like it was such a difference, which is not what I was expecting. I have to be honest.
We definitely ripped the band-aid off with the rubbish film and then gave you the honey.
Yeah.
It's like we gave you the shittest meal ever, and then we gave you the best dessert.
This is like how the analogies are going to keep going, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what we're basically saying is that the film disappointed. Is that?
Mildly.
You know what? Let's say that now, and it will be worse later.
Yeah, and when put in comparison, it just blew me away. It really did. And I'm not an anime fan. I'm not somebody who's had any kind of background with this. There's a running theme here. Whenever I'm here, it's like I've never watched this before. I have watched things. I promise. I don't just sit. In a hall
watch other types
screaming
of
at cars. I do watch other kind of films and
There's
entertainment.
something you do though as well.
What?
Screaming at cars.
Screaming at cars. That's one thing I do.
Usually with your shirt off.
While singing Cars.
Which is really bad this time of year. It's cold.
Well, I can't tune my nipples like you can. Not anymore, anyway.
That's because you lost them in the cold.
I basically look like a Ken doll.
Nothing
everywhere.
Nothing down there. So, if Jamie, you want to give us a bit of background on where the anime came from for this?
Well, the anime, of course, adapted from the manga, which we spoke about briefly in the last episode. Yeah. So I won't go too into it at the moment. But the production studio is a studio called Madhouse. They are known for doing some awesome series. Like, they've done Hunter x Hunter. It's got a pretty big cult following now. Hellsing Ultimate, which is one of the things that got me into anime in the first place. Well, the original version did, but Hellsing Ultimate just pissed all over that and beat it to the ground and then curb stomped it. Ninja Scroll, which turned a lot of people on anime back in the day. That is the most violent thing. And all the women look like Ken dolls as well. So you've got something in common with them, Joe. Completely smooth. Trigun as well, which is a huge anime. And Perfect Blue, which is another one of those crossover animes that Westerners can appreciate massively.
When you described the plot to me, it did sound interesting.
Yes. Stalkers and such. We all know what you're into, you mucky dick.
Alright, no, I'm not having that, okay?
You're dirty.
It's fine,
You're
it's
dirty
fine.
pup. You're a dirty pup.
Jamie explained the premise of it, the entire premise. And
I
said
did.
that sounded interesting.
I did.
He did not just shout the words, "It's about stalkers," and I immediately got one.
It's about me.
Is this your biopic?
Joe, story of a stalker.
Fuck off, no.
In cinemas this winter.
Because it's cold.
Look at this.
I look less threatening when it's cold.
You can't see his nipples.
Because he's a Ken doll.
Can we move on, please?
Yeah. So the director of the anime, just quickly, was, I'm going to butcher this name here, Tetsuro Araki, who...
It's amazing because when it's on the screen it says Bryan Adams. It's just really like Michael can't read.
Damn right. But,
see how it feels.
Did he direct that in the summer of '69?
With some guys from school.
Bought his first real six-stringer all that time.
And they tried real hard.
Yeah, so hard.
I think one of them got married though.
What a prick.
I think one quit.
So Araki.
And when he looks back now,
Fuck's sake.
that summer seemed to last forever. Sorry, carry on.
When was that? In '69.
Yeah.
Oh, that tickled me.
Right.
Sorry.
Are you done now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fuck you both. Right. So Araki, he'd done some episode directing before this and storyboarding, but this was his first one as a series director. And after this, I'd say the next big known thing was really Attack on Titan.
Huge.
He's the current series director for that. He did the first series and he's doing the second series. So again, like obviously, he's just very good at creating things that are quite friendly to Western audiences.
Mm.
I'd say this is beyond friendly to Western audiences.
Yeah,
It translates so well.
Attack on Titan's like it's maybe as popular here as it is in Japan. Maybe that's an overestimation of it, but it is hugely popular.
How is this series accessible exactly? Like, I mean, obviously you discussed earlier how Death Note is, but how is this one Titan?
Well, it's on Netflix for one thing, the dubbed version.
Well, it's subbed and dubbed there.
Subbed and dubbed,
Just
yeah.
while talking about dub, just quickly, the dub was done by Ocean Productions, who
Did the original Dragon
I was
Ball
going
Z.
to say they did Dragon Ball Z. They've
That was
also
taken over by Funimation.
they've done some like Ghost in the Shell.
They did X-Men
Gundam.
Evolution as well, I believe.
Yeah, they've just done so many. Like, it was that. Like, I think I was watching this. Like, my wife walked past and just went, "Oh, that sounds like Piccolo." I was like, "Okay," because he's the same talent, of course,
Yeah.
across the whole lot. And I just thought the dub was done really well. I think I accidentally watched the first episode in sub.
Well, Ryuk is the voice of Vegeta from the original Over 9000 meme.
Yeah, so there you go. Like, it was quite funny how my wife's only ever seen one anime,
Yeah.
and it's just instantly recognised the voice actor from it.
Yeah.
But everything about this is just quite high quality and just so well done
Yeah.
compared to the unmentionable film.
Yeah. I mean, the animation is crisp as well. The animation is so smooth and everything looks good.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the colour palette was like really well done. Like, it's quite muted a lot of the time, but then it uses these splashes of colour when it needs to really make a point, which was really good. I know you were saying, Joe, that you haven't really watched much anime.
No, and
So-
I certainly can't compare this to anything. I don't know does this follow anime tropes?
Well, I think Jamie would be. He has the most experience here with anime and hentai. So,
Miso Weebu.
are you looking for your waifu?
She comes everywhere with me.
I literally, I mean, I could see the back of my brain. My eyes were rolling that hard.
Yep, that's what a Weebu compilation cringe video does for you. Imagine like 10 minutes of that.
Right.
Yeah, there we go.
So how does it hold up against?
Well, it is pretty westernized, to be fair. It doesn't have the silly faces and the daft comedy that you get in anime.
It has more of like the darker side of the anime. So
Yeah,
like
it's
when
more
his
grounded.
expression goes like when he has like the really evil expression. That's
It has the
like, with all
mellow.
the shadows.
It has the melodrama of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when he was just putting the pen to the paper for the first time, it was very with a lot of flair.
Yeah.
And whereas someone would just be like, "Huh," like he was very over the top dramatic with it.
Yeah.
But it makes good watching, doesn't it?
It does. It does make some good watching.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it is quite different. The art style is pretty realistic for anime as well. You know, for something that has a giant monster in it, that is. You haven't got these crazy massive eyes and these strange body proportions. The hair isn't all weird for everyone.
No.
Weird and overly spiky. It fits in with most Western sensibilities, I think.
I found that like when it really started to go for it and it started to ramp up, it had that anime like over the top starting to shout and scream very quickly. Like it escalated really quickly when they were getting passionate, and I'd say that's quite a trope of anime, really.
Yeah, there's also the trope of how much exposition it lays down.
I found this laid it in the right way though.
Yeah,
it really wasn't just like out the blue.
I don't think it's a bad thing that. But
No.
I think it's quite good because, like when you have the scenes at the beginning of Light talking to himself in his own head, that's not something you get in Western properties quite often.
We've got the
It's case
organic.
whenever you've got a kind of that kind of exposition, it's usually a voiceover
Yeah.
and then narrating rather than sort of internalising.
I was going to say you've either got
don't
like
have
the
the monologues.
organic exposition, which is it doesn't explicitly tell you anything, but you discover it as it goes, like with the character, or something a bit more like this, where it does have to tell you the rules and stuff like that, but it does it in such a way so you're not overloaded with everything at once.
Yeah.
Like it gradually teaches you everything that you need to know to understand and enjoy what you're watching, and that's quite a manga thing as well.
Yeah, because like it's
it's the little
the thought
plot
bubbles in the
yeah.
boxes and stuff like that. Yeah, it's like a direct translation. And that's one thing about most anime series is they are direct translations of the manga. The manga's almost like the storyboard for the actual show. So it's
Well, the adaptions are a lot more true, I
Yeah,
suppose
yeah.
you could say, as
Right.
opposed to like Western comics aren't really ever taken panel for panel.
no, not pretty much never.
Yeah,
The only
whereas
time I can think of ones that are taken panel for panel, films like 300, Watchmen.
we're seeing quite a Zack Schneider panel for off and like that kind of
Yeah, well, he doesn't have any of his own creativity, does he?
no.
So, throne shade.
You know,
Hashtag we love Zack Snyder.
hashtag not really. Sorry, not sorry. He's a divisive figure.
Yeah,
He's very divisive.
but he's more popular than us, so yeah, whatever. Fuck him, dick. Deaf kid.
Spoken with no bitterisms.
No,
Bitterisms.
bitterism.
Bitterisms. That's a word.
not saying I was happy when he stepped away from Justice League, but
But I hope he doesn't come back. The
Yeah.
end.
yeah, he does good action scenes, but yeah, I can't write for shit. So anyway,
Sounds like Michael Bay.
next thing that I wrote down to really talk about was how religion is in Death Note, and I like those, not even subtlety, it's quite overtoned with
Yeah.
religion. I mean, the first episode alone had a lot of that.
The immediate score.
I mean, even in that, the opening credits, you had the
Creation of David.
Adam.
Adam.
Say it again, say it again.
Creation. You had the creation of Adam.
Yeah.
Who, you know, that guy.
Michelangelo,
Yeah.
Sistine Chapel.
Michelangelo, who loves to draw dicks all over the Vatican.
I can't believe you got away with that. I really can't.
Well,
Like I go somewhere and draw dicks on the wall, and all of a sudden, oh, I'm a vandal. But
Didn't they do a documentary on that called American Vandal?
yes, a totally legit
Wasn't it based on
documentary
your life?
that isn't at all hilarious. It's so hilarious.
So good. See, that's when Netflix gets something right.
Yes.
It's funny and really good. When they take Death Note, it's really shit.
Yeah.
going into the whole religious tones, as you said, immediately in the opening credits, you had that picture of light and
Ryuk.
Ryuk. Sorry, pronunciation. Both in this
Creation of
Adam
Adam.
Pause.
picture, yeah, in the pause, yeah. Which I mean, it gets mimicked quite heavily in a lot of comics, not in a lot of cartoons and things like that. Probably The Simpsons have used it a bunch of times as well.
A big part of the symbolism is the apple as well.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a forbidden
Of
fruit.
course, yeah.
Yeah, so you've got that in there.
And you're leaning straight, very much on a Western religion there, aren't you?
Yeah.
I mean, is it widely held in Japan? I don't
Japan
know.
isn't a very religious country.
Oh, it is in its own way. It's got its own religion, like Shinto religion.
Yeah, apart from Shinto doesn't believe in things like afterlife or a god. It's more of a way of life.
Yeah.
So could you argue that Death Note already had the intended Western, market in mind when it started?
I
going
think
across-
it more
I mean,
drew
the
its
fact that it had
influence from it.
yeah,
Right.
the fact it had English rules in the Death Note, very much. I think so. It shows that they maybe had the thought of that.
And here's the thing as well: Western religions are obsessed with death more than any
Yeah.
other religion. If you look at things like
But humans constantly question the mortality.
yeah, and
So-
Christianity's a massive one because they're always like, well, maybe this year we'll have the apocalypse and the rapture. Maybe this year we'll all die.
Well, you look at like the Mayans in 2012 with the calendar ending, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just a big thing in Western religion.
Yeah.
The concept of death. So I think that plays a part in where they drew that influence. And there's also the god complex that's apparent in the actual show. So I think they want to play on that a little
Well,
bit.
I mean, that's really overt how he says he wants to be a god, and I found by the end of the first episode, like the closing scene, like where you have the ray of light above him, and that was very much like religious imagery. I think it plays with it a lot. It's like plays with religion a lot, and like you have conceptions of religion, which is quite good, and that vengeful God who does evil things for the right reason. I think it really leans on that,
and the way he's worshipped as well.
Yeah. And how he create like the people
both
defend him.
Yeah, both worshipped and reviled.
Yeah.
To in pretty much equal measures, much like most gods are.
I have to say, it just shows just how well written it was.
Superbly done, yeah. As I said, we were talking in a minute, we'll obviously jump back to this, but the way in which they had the viewer already assume that the viewer... I mean, it can be the case that a writer can treat a viewer as if they're an idiot, and it seems to be the best position to be in, is to treat your audience as if they already have some knowledge of the genre, whatever it is, whether it's like I don't know, say like sort of criminal detective novels, detective genres, or horror tropes or action tropes or whatever it is, and it always seems to suit best that they give you some assumption that you know something, and then what you can do from there is they take what you know and they add just a little bit more onto it. And I think that's what Death Note's in the animated series has done really well. I think they've managed to, you know, take what we know or what we can assume's coming and then give us a bit more, which is terrific. I mean, it's great.
Out of interest, which anime series have you actually seen?
None, I don't think. I mean, for all there may have been some that you've recommended in the past.
Have you maybe caught the odd episode or something?
I think so. I mean,
Pokemon movies as a kid?
Well, yeah, obviously,
Pokemon,
I never considered that.
No, it is. It's full-blown anime.
Yeah. I suppose that when you started mentioning about the overexcited...
the silly expressions,
yeah,
and
that suddenly reminded me of like Misty and Ash when they get
Misty!
really excited about the Pokemon, like, and all of a sudden the faces had changed and the whole, like, all of a sudden when she got angry, she'd become boom massive.
Yeah, and yet you don't get that in this sort of thing, do you? So
that's true.
That's a more westernised
Yeah.
thing. Because if you look at like Western cartoons, you've seen a few Western cartoons, obviously.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you've got like
still do watch them. I mean, in South Park, you know.
Yeah, but like even you consider stuff like the X-Men cartoon from the 90s.
Right. Yeah.
You didn't get those sort of over the top moments.
No, for all it was like about superhumans, you still had them in their own sort of proportionate sizes, and anything that they did sort of perform was still grounded in a sense of reality. You know, they had their own limitations, and it seems from what you've described, it sounds as if anime has kind of got it's much wilder. Really, it sounds as if it can go big.
Japan has its own humour, though, doesn't it? It has its own type of...
It's own subculture.
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of the same with comics. There's so many different kinds of comics out there. The anime is, again, the exact same principle of something for everyone. So let's move on. Fuck it.
Okay.
I went on a weird little tangent there.
In that little... I'd like to look at how the dynamic of LV Light starts to play out in this, because I think you really get the taste of... You can see where it's going to go in the whole series from the first 3 episodes. You get that chess game.
Absolutely,
almost.
yeah.
And
it's also like the same person versus the other same person.
It's the two sides of one coin. Like you have the bit in the end of the second episode where they're making the exact same speech about justice.
Yeah.
And it really reinforces the fact of they want the same thing through different means.
Yeah.
What did you make of L's introduction? I mean, talking in that massive conference when he was first introduced. What did you make of that? And how they decided to put him across?
Well, it's funny how you give this detective L is the most mysterious. He is the most mysterious character in the whole thing, and he introduces himself to other detectives and their main job is to seek out and expose mystery. You know, and I just thought that was an interesting way to expose yourself. You're basically showing your own power, how good you are at remaining a mystery in front of the best in the world.
It certainly puts you up on that pedestal, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like none of these other detectives know who he is, but they know of him.
And as soon as the room, I mean, it was kind of reminding me of like a UN or Parliament conference where they're all going rabble, rabble, rabble.
Yeah. Well, it was Interpol, wasn't it?
Interpol and the IPCC, I think they call it, for the conference.
Yeah, international authorities, basically.
Right, and the fact that obviously one of the cinematic tools they used there was to silence the entire room when his name was mentioned. And of course that just hammers home, obviously that draws the audience into how significant this character is to the story. And what about when they actually just revealed him as a distorted voice? What did you make of that? You know, where it's like, greetings everyone, kind of thing.
That added another layer of mystery. I mean, I remember when I first watched Death Note when I must have been about 18, 19, something like that. And I thought at first that L was Wattery.
Yeah.
When he walked in, because Wattery comes in, mysterious character, dressed like an old school private detective. You know, you can't see his face or anything like that. I originally thought that was L, and then the symbol came up, and then you started hearing the distorted voice. And I realised, so this guy is even more mysterious than this guy.
Yeah. So it's like almost
like you've got the layers.
You take that bar and raise it again.
Yeah. It's like an onion. It's got layers. To quote Shrek.
Get out of my swamp! If only Shrek was a comic book film. Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed.
She was looking
kinda dumb with a finger and a thumb in the shape of an L on her forehead. Well, the sorry, went in the corner.
I was going to say, like a Jonathan Davies there. Oh, that went right off track.
Proceed.
L versus
professional.
You can't make me. L versus Light. Yeah, I mean, I was referring to L's introduction. What about Light's introduction? I mean, for me, I saw it as his immediate parallel between him and Ryuk.
Yeah.
So,
both bored.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Both disinterested in their peers as well. He was obviously around these kind of gods.
Yeah.
These death
gods. The Shinigami, yeah.
And he was around his peers, the pupils, the students, the everyday people commuting to work and back. And both of them, you know, they were eyes cast down, just sort of existing, but totally...
I put jaded.
Yeah, they're both...
Just jaded with their own existence.
They're both exceptional as well.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, I can't really say that for Ryuk, to be fair, because we're shown that
he's a god.
He's a god, but he's... The way they go about things, it's that they are different to their peers. Massively.
I mean, not just that, like later on we learn that Ryuk's the only one with 2 Death Notes.
Yeah.
Because he's managed to get hold of a second Death Note. And that kind of stands him out from everyone. Mm-hmm. So I always thought that was interesting. That showed him thinking different to the rest.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's not the only Shinigami we meet. We do meet another one later on in the anime as well. And we see the very different motivations of them. And we learn how they die, like how they came to die through the sacrifice and love, like that death and love parallel. And it was really explored in the
Sorry.
And I will always love Death Note too.
Oh dear.
We are the worst. Yeah,
well,
simultaneously the best.
Absolutely.
So I think we should like crack into the episodes really. Like I said, if we're doing the LV Light, I want to kind of compare them almost to the movie, but I'm going to do that after we've talked about the episodes.
Fair enough.
Kind of keep some structure here.
I'll try to do that as well.
Yeah,
it'll be very difficult because there are so many ways we can compare them.
Yeah, that's why I was going to bring it up at the end.
Yeah,
because we're going to start jumping around at that point, and we might lose Joe off in some of that because we'll talk about.
I can imagine you would.
We'll talk about things that have happened past the episodes you've watched so far. But yeah, first episode opens with like the choral chanting.
Death Note.
Are you feeling musical?
Save the day.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, it definitely opens with that religious
massively,
feel.
yeah.
I mean, you do get the opening credits, and then that you see the.
I thought we were watching Songs of Praise.
Did you?
No.
No, I was going to say.
I thought it was Vicar Dibley. But again, what you were saying was this grabs us straight away and lets us know that there, apart from the imagery that's already used, there is religious overtones already in this. What do you think it serves to do by giving us this sort of I want to say like sort of Christianity? Really, it's kind of leaning into that faith,
it's that monastery-esque.
Yeah,
I think it's Christianity is really, it's very grandiose as well, especially if you look at the Catholic way of it. Which seems to be where they're going.
I ain't touching that with a fucking stick.
No, well, let's not go too far into it, but it is. Think of the religious epic. You know, you've got Ben-Hur. It's a religious epic, isn't it? You've got Jesus of Nazareth, religious epic. Passion of the Christ with all that fucking death and destruction and everything like that. It's probably to draw some parallels to it. I don't think it's so consciously, so people, specifically nerds like us,
I thought it was so it opened your mind pretty quickly to a supernatural. Like, instantly you're thinking religion, so you're thinking of otherworldly things as well.
Demons,
so
heaven, hell.
I thought it was to open that door straight away of, well, you're going to accept if we suddenly show a Shingami, because you've already been almost primed for it.
Fair enough.
Perhaps, that's fair enough.
And I mean, straight away we see almost the bored, jaded light looking out the window, disinterested. The whole class is disinterested. It's a bit, no one's listening to the teacher, but we see he can just snap out of it, answer the question, and then sits down and
he recites scripture as well, doesn't he? That's part of his.
He's in an English class.
Yeah.
So I thought that's their foreign language, obviously. And he's bored looking out the window, and we see the Death Note fall, which it's so difficult, but the way it's handled is, it's made to seem, it's like an apple falling from a tree in the distance. It's insignificant, but significant to the person that sees it. And you very much get that, 'cause you see him go out, pick it up, and be like...
I like that it didn't fall right next to him as well. Like, it didn't like smash through the window.
He couldn't pick it up straight away. He was curious from the outset of, I wonder what that was.
Yeah.
And there's a road in the background, so he might have thought there was a elevated road, like highway, and he might have just thought it was thrown from there or something. Like, it just piqued his interest because he was so bored.
Yeah.
And I like how he looked at it as well. He had a quick look at the bit that says the person whose name is written in this notebook shall die.
The rules.
And and he just put it back down, and he was like, he compared it to a chainmail.
Yeah,
I thought that was clever.
I put that he mocked it, like he just like that disbelief of, cheap trick. I'm at school, so this is just someone playing a game.
However, curiosity got the better of him there.
Yeah.
And he ended up going back.
And I liked when he went home, like, instantly it laid out the rules for exactly what it can do.
Yeah.
Like, it introduced that expo as you needed it. He sat down before he's done anything with it. The anime tells us what it can do. And I thought that was really, really good.
He did have a little bit of questioning of the morals of murder as well.
Yeah.
Not as much as he does later on, but he did touch on it a little bit.
Well, he thinks, if this is real, like, I'm not just going to kill anyone. I should probably kill bad people. So that's when he hits on the criminals really
This is where
quickly.
It's getting so hard to compare it, not to compare it to the movie.
That's the thing of this, like, you get those motivations really quick of that moral guidance within him, whereas the movie just went evil, evil, evil.
Yeah. He does.
That size sums it up. That was.
I mean, the gravitas of it, I thought was handled much better. I mean, his shock, and as I said before, I likened the first episode. What I liked so much is that the Death Note itself, the book, it came across as a drug to him.
Yeah.
For me,
he had to try it.
Yeah, he had to try it.
He took that first hit.
The camera work showed this immediate shock. Him stumbling into the alley. Obviously what you'd associate with an addict, almost like in this desperate situation, and the rain coming down.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
I liked his disbelief after the first one.
Yeah, where he's like, it can't be.
He just tests it out on a whim, like picks a criminal, and that almost like he sees the evidence of it, and he's just like, I don't believe it. Like that could just be a coincidence.
I have to test this.
and you
It
see
becomes an experiment
you see
for him.
straight away after he's told that he has to go to a cram lesson, and you see him put it away like education's still more important at this point. And I thought that was a massive difference of the education and him being smart was put out there so quickly.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, again, hard to compare this book.
Go for it.
No,
How much smarter?
no, it's not hard.
How much smarter is Light in this to Light in the film?
Yeah.
It's like night and day.
But it doesn't portray him as an outcast either, though.
No,
It's not trying to make him.
he's
someone
above
that stands
everyone.
out. If anything, it's making him. He's exceptional in how he's clever, but he's not. He doesn't stand out of the crowd.
Everyone looks up to him more than anything.
Yeah.
Which we see later on. But we also see that he has a living mother as well. A
Yeah.
living mother. So there we go. That's another case of Hollywood trying to.
Well, they just use that as the excuse to make him act out.
Yeah, instead of actually giving him some depth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And cram school, we don't really have that over here, do we?
We have tutors, but not like in the same
detention.
respect.
It's only for the shit pupils.
Yeah, we don't
I
have
went
it
there
to-
often.
Same. Solemn Law 5.
Respect.
No idea what you're on about. I'm too clever. Dumbasses.
You mean you're more of a nerd?
Yes, I am.
Oh, God.
He says, looking at his Warhammer collection.
Shit.
But
He's got me there.
on his way back from the cram session, we see the logical side of his brain think, oh, I'm going to test it again in a more controlled environment. And I've put that he plays the Good Samaritan. If he sees someone in danger, and he's like, oh, I can't let that happen, I'm going to do something.
See, I disagree with that.
Oh.
Yes, because at this point, he doesn't know for sure that the Death Note fully works.
No, but
This is an experiment, and he's more concerned with the
Seeing
experiment
whether it
and
works.
seeing it work than actually helping that woman.
I thought it
don't
was in
think he
between.
cares.
I thought it was in the middle.
Yeah.
He plays the Good Samaritan through the act, but I'm not saying he did it solely for that purpose. Like, he could have done that to anyone, but...
Well, he thought earlier about doing it to a bully, didn't he?
I mean, I have written evil guy is evil here.
Yeah.
And it's like, that guy on the bike was just over the top evil.
I call him Bucktooth Biker.
See, I never considered it from that viewpoint, that he didn't actually really care about that woman. I didn't think of it like that. The only thing going through my head was it was a sort of different approach on the stereotypical hero jumping down. Like, at any point in that scene, I would have expected Batman to fall from the sky
And save the stranger.
justice, and like punch them all in the face, and like she gets to
See,
run away safely. Whereas he sort of, this was like a different kind of superhero. This was like a take on the superhero role, where suddenly he saves the girl. But obviously, I never thought about it in terms of him not actually being concerned about it.
know.
So yeah, I got the impression of that because we'd already seen that moral decision to kill criminals. That this was it was his chance to experiment, but he's never targeted good people.
I think it would have been different if he'd done it a different way. But the fact is, he saw it happening. He calmly walked into that store. He opened up a comic book. He put the note in the comic book, and he just looked and he just wrote it. There was no look of desperation on it. There was no, and we've got inner monologues a huge thing.
I suppose
in this,
we see
and
the
there's no inner
escalation.
monologue of it.
I suppose you could argue we see the escalation of it from them just kind of harassing her on the street to essentially sexual assault.
Yeah.
And we see the escalation, but has he written it by that point? Or did he write it after
He was
that?
writing it as it was going on.
As it was happening.
Yeah, so maybe...
And he only wrote that guy's name because he said the name out loud.
He heard it, didn't he?
Obviously, there were other dickheads there as well, but...
Couldn't do nothing about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I say, I think it's somewhere in the middle. I take your point. I think it is in the middle of the two. I think it was both.
But the thing is, how I feel about Light in this entire series is he's so disconnected from humanity already. He shows that people aren't really people to him.
Which again is like a trope of a serial killer.
Yeah, they're things for
See, I
him.
didn't get that straight away. I thought he felt a bit different, but not disconnected it until, as the series progressed, he became more. But we see that through the God complex.
Yeah.
And so I think
Which he
I always
reveals
thought
right at the end of
I
the
always
first
thought
episode.
that's where we saw it veer off.
Yeah.
Was he realizes the power corrupts, absolute power absolutely corrupts, and I thought we saw
From
that.
somebody who doesn't like Zack Snyder, you sure do quote him. In that
That's
one
an older.
instance.
That's an older quote than him.
Is it?
Yeah, that's a hell of an older quote.
Alright.
But yeah, I thought. See, you've knocked me off my point now. Fuck
Sorry.
you.
Well, let's re-jog.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it drew it almost humanised him aware of he did care about people at that point.
Yeah, no, I went the complete opposite direction with that.
I think we both take different things. From
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I think that's one of the good
I
things
like
about
that.
the series.
I like that
though.
you're both settling to two different camps of thought here. Because
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it goes to show, as you said, how much it has to offer.
I think
You
it's so
can
well
invest
written that you
to-
can have both those goals.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're both going to end up on the exact same path at that later on with it, I suspect.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Throughout this series, I mean, it's basically the story of two men.
Yeah.
If you think of it like that, it's the story of L v Light, and some people
Sherlock Holmes versus Moriarty.
yeah. But some people would consider the Moriarty to be Light. Some would consider it to be L. You know, you can pick your sides with that because L's stopping him from achieving a greater good in some way, but from a moral standpoint, Light is doing the wrong thing.
I love L's
So it's-
description of Light when he said that this person seems to have a childish concept of right and wrong. I mean, that's obviously his viewpoint on what.
So you see that later in this, that statement I think refers to a scene that happens in this episode, where he's on about, it happens in a bit where he's talking to Ryuk, where he's on about everyone has that right and wrong, they can tell you right and wrong, and it shows a young person saying that.
Yes, yeah.
And I thought that was a callback to that little line and that scene that was shown. Personally, anyway.
Yeah,
But
makes sense.
Yeah.
just to move the scenes forward from the
Yeah.
the bike a bit, we see Ryuk descend to the human world. We see the other ones almost deriding him for, I can't believe you've misplaced your Death Note, that kind of thing. And then I've put that he descended a bit like Angel, almost Lucifer, like to Earth.
Fallen from grace.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I thought it was interesting that the other ones were kind of almost snobbish in a way.
Yeah,
And
they
which
thought
is-
they were better than him because they were sat around doing the normal Death God things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Whereas
were just part of the world.
he was doing something that he considered a higher purpose for himself. Only for himself, he didn't do it for anyone else. But I like the meeting between Ryuk and Light as well. So you find Light comes in one day. This is set a week or so after, isn't it?
It's 5 days,
5
but it
days,
doesn't
yeah.
tell you that straight away.
No.
And Light's looking at all of the names he's put in the Death Note, and he's laughing to himself. He's doing the most evil laugh. I love that laugh, by the way.
Yeah, it's stereotypically evil as well.
Yeah, he's laughing at his work, his handiwork, and then he's interrupted by Ryuk. He doesn't have a pissy pants fit like in the film.
See, I've put that he was scared initially, but he recovered really quick.
Yeah.
And
Cracked a smile as well.
yeah,
Said he's been expecting him.
yeah, and that you see, not only is like, oh, I've been expecting you. It's not ultimately evil. It's just someone who's clever.
Yeah, it's a logical expectation.
Yeah,
He's not hiding under a desk.
no, he understands. He kind of comes to terms with what's happening very quickly. And you see his brain he reveals his plan to Ryuk for how he's going to
become
use
a
the
god.
Death Note.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really good because as he's explaining it and Ryuk's talking, we see the use of split screen for the first time in it, where it really starts to divide the screen up to draw your attention to specific things that are going on. And I thought that was fantastic, just to guide the audience to, this is what I'm talking about at this point, and establish, when I talk about the Death Note, I'm talking about that. Not Ryuk, I'm talking about that.
I like how it had a flashback as well to the night where he fully realised that the second death,
real thing,
that's a real thing, and he had that brief moral dilemma, and he martyrs himself in it.
Yeah.
He basically says it's worth doing just to clean up this rotten world.
See, that's where you said he looked like a drug addict. Where with the
absolutely,
shaking and
yeah.
It seemed more like he was trying to find an excuse to keep using this drug to me, rather than
How
fully
he was
being
rationalising
he was rationalising it to make it easier on himself for what he was doing.
In this scene with Ryuk as well, we see like these extra rules be established, like in it as, and I thought that was really good. Of again, it's like you've got this base, it's give you the framework, and then it's gone right now. You understand this framework. Here's a bit more framework for you to get to grips with, but it never like if it had told you all that at once, I think you'd have missed points of it. And it just never did. Then because he gets interrupted at one point by his mum bringing him some food, and here's where we see that not people can't see Shingami.
Yeah.
Like only people who touch the Death Note, and that's made clear. And we see she brings them up a bowl of apples, and this is where I've just written apples equal drugs or sugar or something like that.
Yeah.
Because you see Ryuk just going nuts for them.
So 2 levels of addiction we've already seen in one episode.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Shingami, like apples in particular, because I mean the apple pips are always used for the apple tree growing, providing life, and the god of death really likes to think, this symbol for life is being consumed by the god of death.
And then again, and the
because
apple
they create that craving for it.
The apple itself also the forbidden fruit.
Yeah, and I thought that was really, really interesting, and we start to see the motivations of both Light and Ryuk here, and like they explores more of their character very quickly. It doesn't kind of give you time to dwell on it because it just comes so fast.
I like when Ryuk said, "Once you've killed all the bad guys, that would make you only the last bad guy around." And Light just totally dismisses it as like, "I don't know what you mean. I'm an honours student. I'm one of the brightest in Japan."
There's no reason.
Yeah, if anyone's fit to rule this world, it's me.
Yeah.
He's got this sense of entitlement, and he's also got this god complex.
Which is how you referred to him earlier when you said he just he elevates himself so quickly above the rest of society, the rest of the people involved.
Well, he has his convictions and he sticks by them in this. What I found interesting was because he doesn't immediately make apparent that 5 days have passed until Ryuk goes, "Look at how many names you've put in that book," and we get a look of it, and there are just probably hundreds of names in this book already, and you see suddenly like he's hit the ground running.
Yeah,
I like that Light considers a lot of different elements. It is like a logical paranoia. That's how I describe it. In that he anticipates this arrival. He anticipates that people are eventually going to trigger onto the fact that all of these villains are dying or being murdered, or they're all suddenly dying out of coincidence, and he considers that. He immediately starts to think, well, okay, how am I going to deal with this step when it arrives? It's not a case of these things happen and he goes, oh shit, I'm going to have to deal with this. He's already trying. It is like a chess game, and as you said, it becomes more of a chess game when L's involved, and how they're strategically manoeuvring around each other, and they both have to anticipate one step ahead, or have to anticipate so many steps to be able to reveal something about the other one, which was, it was just so beautiful when they did that scene. You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
With the broadcast announcement that they did, and the reveal.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, we get onto that in the next episode.
The next episode, yeah. I'm just glad he found something he's good at. It's just a shame it's murder.
I like the fact that by the end of this episode, who's basically said he was bored,
just found a reason to not be bored anymore.
Just is like, oh, humans are so interesting.
Yeah,
and I thought that was fantastic as one, and that ending shot of Light with the sun rising behind him, so you had the rays, like almost Halo-esque.
Yeah,
I thought that was fantastic imagery. And I mean, one thing we didn't touch on that we learned in this episode is if you use the Death Note, you won't go to heaven or hell, you go to purgatory.
Which I thought was a dick thing to reveal after he's already fucking used it. He's kind of like, oh, by the way, you're not going to heaven or hell, you're going to be stuck in purgatory for the rest of your life. Like,
he doesn't seem to care though.
No, he did not seem arsed at one point, did he?
But that seemed to be at that point he'd already kind of risen himself above of I'm going to do the evil to rid the world of it. And then that's my almost punishment for it, is I don't get to go to one place or another, I just have to hang around. But I thought that was, again, that had that religious overtones we were talking about.
I can't quite link this as probably neatly as I'd like to, because I don't have the knowledge on Greek mythology, but a lot of the times it seems to be the case of the gods being up on Olympus and playing with human life. That tends to be a bit of a theme.
Puppeteering.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, I mean, if I had to link that to, you know, Mount Olympus and the gods and things like that, this seems to be a case of him coming down and playing with the mortals and getting that kind of dance.
Bloody Zeus.
Yeah.
Having sex with all them.
Yeah, they sort of come down for the earthly delights almost, and that seems to be what he's doing here.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to see what happens.
Only he's not impregnating women.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
He's coming down and stealing all the apples.
So
It's an apple famine because of Ryuk.
Oh, no, yeah.
So we move on to episode 2 at this point. And I mean, that's a lot to happen in episode 1. It's introduced you to one of the main characters plus the main vehicle for this, with Ryuk and the Death Note.
There was a lot told in 20 minutes, really.
Yeah, I thought it really did a good job at establishing itself and making you curious to keep watching. And it showed you how clever it was starting to be by the end.
Yeah.
So episode 2, we go into like prioritising education. I've put here. And
I
taking
put that
charge.
he's very focused on murder and very focused on being the best.
Yeah,
This is a focused young man.
Yeah, he prioritises.
I'd love to
very
punch
well.
him in the face.
Mhm.
Fucking nerd.
With your nerd head.
Nerds!
But again, he still prioritises his education and upholding his facade, his image.
Yeah. I don't know it's facade. I think he generally just wants to be the best.
Just wants to be the best.
Yeah, at everything he does, including killing
Like no
people.
one ever was.
He's the greatest serial killer there ever was.
To kill them is my real test. And be a god is my cause.
See, when we
Straight A
set
student.
when we set a Patreon up, that's going to be a goal for you just to write that song now.
Death Note, gotta kill 'em all.
Deathy note.
So
Although there's always a pause after.
To run out of ink is my real pain. Deathy note.
Gotta kill 'em all. Gotta
Deathy
kill
Note.
'em all. Deathy Note.
Sorry.
Sorry.
So early on in this episode, we see that Ryuk, like, he doesn't necessarily say all the rules straight away. Like, he omits rules.
He's having fun. He's a playful little creature.
He very much says, "I'm not on anyone's side here," just to let you know. And by the way, here's some other rules that you might not have known. And I thought that was brilliant because that showed that Light doesn't know everything,
Yeah.
and that showed that chink of the stuff outside of his knowledge base that's going to affect him.
And that seems to be a level of frustration for Light, because we do see.
upsets him no end. He's got such an arrogance that we learn in this episode that.
You know what? That's a really good way to describe him. I think arrogant
Yeah.
and almost so cocksure of himself. That's a word, honestly.
He's almost. He's just detached. He's detached from the rest of
I
humanity.
think by this point we're definitely
And
seeing
again,
that.
serial killer. You know?
Yeah,
That's that's what they invest in this episode.
Whereas before, when I was saying he had the Good Samaritan, you were saying he was a bit more. I think this is the point where we go on the same path of no, he's detached by this point.
I don't know what we'd put him down as. Probably a process killer, rather than a, because he's interested in the process of making someone die, but not. He's not. He doesn't kill for the actual body.
He's not killing for the thrill.
Yeah, he's not. He's not a product killer.
Well, could you not argue that he gets a thrill out of doing what he's doing? As I said, he elevates himself to this god complex.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. He gets a thrill out of the process of it rather than
the actual.
Yeah, because he's never there for the body.
He
So
never,
it's not-
he never
it's not a
takes
visceral
delight
kind
in
of
the death.
thrill,
It's
it's,
delight in
It's
the
like in the action.
in the action of ridding them as opposed to the actual death itself. Maybe.
Possibly.
So after this, we see what I call the police response. We see this conference of Interpol and this IPCC, and straight away
They've
it
all
shows.
connected the dots.
Yeah, but straight away we see the divide in like how they want to deal with it. Some of them are actually kind of going, well, actually maybe he's doing us some good here, killing off the bad guys, and others are really aghast at this, and we're seeing that divide straight away. There's no single response.
Yeah.
And then we see the introduction of L, and we get an
Let's
expo there.
Let's talk in hypotheticals here. Who in this room thinks that...
Why the fuck did you stare at me there?
Because you're the most psychotic.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. Thinks that
It's Michael Jackson with a knife.
Kira is actually a good thing.
What do you mean? Like what he's
Like,
doing?
who would be on the side of the police that the police that think he's doing the right thing, and the police that think this is murder and murder is murder?
I would.
the thing is,
I think that's why it's so good, because you're in the middle of it all the time.
Knowing what I've seen of Kira, and I can't unsee it and I can't undo that, I would be on the side of the police who believe it's a bad thing, because he inevitably is taking things into his own hands, and he actively killed or wanted to try and kill the detective, and that's what he's wanting to do now. He's wanting to stop anyone who opposes him, and that's not.
Well,
that's not a moral question
the power
anymore.
corrupts. Absolute power absolutely corrupts.
And that seems to be
he's
what
ascended
done to him.
above.
Yeah,
But I'd say
If
it's
you
that
were-
classic moral of it's the necessary evil to rid the world of evil is to do evil. That's a lot of evil.
that is a lot.
So your team Kira.
No, what I'm saying is it's
that
that
sounded
moral,
a lot
this-
like Team
no,
Kira
Yeah.
with your T-shirt over there saying "I heart murder."
Yeah, and your hat that says "Make America Great Again."
dude. But it's that moral discussion. I think this is why it's quite good of it. It plays on that moral thread of if you could rid the world of evil, but someone has to commit the most evil to do that, is it worth it? And that, I think that's why it's so effective. Of even though you know this guy's killing lots of people, every now and again you do find yourself rooting for him. And I think that's why it works as a show.
Yeah.
It
is like the Punisher, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
as a notion,
very
you
much-
you could easily appreciate what's going on and what he's doing in order to,
Because-
it's an eye for an eye. Almost.
Because the thing is,
he's capital punishment.
He's not just killing anyone either. He's killing people that have committed crime, and particularly violent crime already.
But he's only doing it for himself. He's not doing it for anyone else. Yeah.
That's the flip side of that
Yeah.
argument. Is I think that's why it works so well, and that's why this scene's so good. If it shows the police arguing this moral dilemma out.
And since we couldn't give you a definitive answer to that hypothetical, which was an interesting question to pose, but obviously Megan has.
You're both taking diplomatic answers.
So
We
Jay,
really are.
what about you? What's your answer to that?
I'm on the side of the police.
Oh, there you
I
go.
think they need to stop him. I think he's a bit of a bad lad.
Bit of a bad lad.
Bit of a bad lad. He's a bit naughty.
He's been nutty.
Yeah, nutty boy.
Nutty.
But
also,
I
I'm
think.
sure.
But can I just say, just because you're a bad guy does not make you a bad guy.
Thank you, Zangief. But also, I think what plays into that as well is I think that we're not looking at the protagonist of the story. I think we're looking at the antagonist of the story. That's my viewpoint on it. And I think I'd love to punch him. I think I'd love to punch someone like that.
But
So
I'd say that the first time I watched this, of course, you don't know who the protagonist is because Al hasn't been introduced yet. So at the moment we just have a guy who's trying to rid the world of evil through an evil deeds. And so at this point, I don't think you've really made your mind up about him. You've seen the God complex come through, so you're already a bit.
Yeah.
And this is where
you've already seen the arrogance as well.
Yeah, and so this is where I think it really pushes him to the antagonist once we get the introduction of L.
You almost want him to be humbled.
I mean, with the introduction of L, what was interesting is his name dropped first, and you've got a new guy there who doesn't know who L is, so we get that expo again quite naturally of... He's like, well, here you go, this is who L is. And
He's the best of the best.
You get the description of it. He only takes the cases he wants to take.
Yeah.
And then we get
So
Watari
he's got his
come
own
in.
level of arrogance.
So
to
just
it.
after this, we see the Watari comes in, and there's this big and hush throughout the whole conference because this is L's representative, and we find out so quickly.
What we do see at the same time as this is going on, though, is that Light has realised that what Ryuk has said to him about if anyone touches the Death Note.
Yeah.
Because his sister came in and who also wasn't in the movie, and that's when Ryuk said if she touches the Death Note, then she'll be able to see me.
Yeah.
So he realises that he's got to create a backup plan in case.
That's what I put there, where he says he explains these extra rules.
Yeah.
Of we see the Light doesn't know everything.
Yeah. But he creates a trap for anyone that finds the Death Note.
Well, that comes after the conference, so we're introduced
It's
to
going
Elf.
on at the same time.
I thought it was after.
No, it's gone at the same time.
I've written it after.
Well, you're a dick.
I'm obviously right though. So.
Shut your mouth for fuck it.
No.
Stop
Stop doing that to Joe.
He's practice.
He's already finished.
Yeah. Give me 20 minutes and then you're getting it.
What I found interesting about this next bit was that Light hid behind the screen, and I almost feel like
L. I like.
Light. No, L. Sorry. find L hiding behind the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really interesting actually that he started to do that, and I think like it was interesting because it added that air of mystery, and
Yeah.
we have that, like you were saying earlier, that mystery about Watabi as well, and that, like
Watari, isn't it?
Watabi. Huh,
Watabi, a type of chili.
We got wasabi.
Wasabi.
Oh, we're all wrong today.
Let's call him Wasabi.
Well,
Let's just start calling him Wasabi.
no, let's not.
Oh, he's so hot.
No.
Damn that Wasabi. He's so hot right now.
Oh God. Right, let's not.
But yeah, they're both behind screens.
But,
it draws the parallels between them.
yeah.
You know how they want the same thing. They want to get rid of crime, but they want to do it in different methods.
Yeah.
You know, and they're both of the same level of intelligence, pretty much, and they're both playing games with each other.
Well, we see L's initial guesses already, and he's already narrowing that down through just logical guesses.
He tells the police force that he suspects the killer is Japanese already.
Yeah, because of this first killing.
Yeah.
And
that's when the reveal of that is perfect.
Yeah.
You were saying before about it.
Loved it.
we see like doing the hiding the Death Note, and he comes up with quite an elaborate trap for it, and it's because he cares about his family. And he doesn't want people just to wander and pick it up. Also, we just see him being very self-protective here.
To be fair, he also says that although he wouldn't like it, he might have to kill his own family.
Yeah.
So
Did he say that?
He did, yeah. He says, I don't want to think about it now, but I might be in a situation where I have to kill my family.
Yeah, but he's putting it
I remember
off.
him saying that. Wow.
Yeah, it's quite an offhand comment as well.
He just says it like
which again like adds more to his like dehumanized.
It's when he's shown Ryuk his trap for the Death Note.
Huh.
Yeah, it's. I say it's
can't
so.
believe I zoned out on something so.
Well, the thing is, it's one line in a lot of talking at that point, so it's very easy to miss these little things. That's why rewatching it, I think I missed it the first time.
And he says it so nonchalantly as well.
Yeah, it's just if it gets in my way, I'll have to deal with it. But I don't want to think about that.
That's why I say he's detached from humanity.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
but like I said,
you could even say something like that.
But
It just adds to that.
But like what I was saying earlier was at that point, the point earlier, he didn't know he was like that. That comes later.
Yeah.
And we've already seen that arrogance come through later on in that first episode.
Yeah.
But he's excited by the fan base that he discovers he has as well. So message boards keep popping up about the legend of Kira.
Well, what we see as well is we see
developing this notoriety.
when he's hiding the Death Note, we see
notoriety.
We see Ryuk. We see Ryuk praise Light for the first time. He's like, no one's really ever thought of hiding it like this.
Yeah.
And he's basically saying you are completely different to the people who've had it before.
Yeah.
And that I thought that was interesting because he also kind of I just loved the line of if I get captured, I'm going to get executed. So what's a little house fire?
Yeah.
And I thought that was fantastic, and it shows that devious nature already really strongly coming through, and wanting to be that step ahead of any problem.
He was weighing them both very carefully.
Yeah.
Again,
it was that logical choice.
Yeah. Light is hit by his first bit of opposition.
Yeah.
It's not long after that on the TV.
Well, when you come back, because it's got that break in the middle, when you come back, this is where you really see the people supporting Kira. They name him Kira, and this is where you really see that public support coming in. And you were saying that, it's almost again that religious overtone of the people are worshipping Kira almost for ridding the evil of the world.
Yeah, he's starting to get that godlike status.
Yeah.
It's probably more cult-like than godlike.
I'd say cult.
It's still an underground thing in many ways.
I would definitely say it's more
online.
cult-like actually, because it does have a lot of those connotations through it. And I mean, we'll talk about it a bit later when we go past episode 3, and that cult-like it becomes even more of a comparison later on.
Yeah. He's really excited by the fact that he's got this fan base, though.
Yeah.
He's really digging the worship element of it.
He's digging the fact that people agree with him.
Yeah.
And he's being proven right in what he does. And that arrogance has been rewarded with actual evidence and fact.
It feeds into his self-belief very nicely.
And then we see the L on TV.
Lindell Taylor.
Yeah.
The man who claims to be L.
Yeah. And this scene was just perfect.
Yeah, you see.
I loved everything.
You see the escalation from Light seeing it and it kind of almost gone like, what the hell's this, to the the script of L talking is more.
What I like in this is that light gets triggered by one word.
Well, I put
that
that.
Triggered by the
smirk.
word evil.
I put that.
What you're
he
doing
goads
is
him.
evil, and he just flips. Right.
I like that he goads him. And
It was an intentional provoke, wasn't it?
And I've put here evil, no justice, God. And that escalation from I'm not evil, I'm justice incarnate, I'm God.
Yeah.
And that's such a quick escalation. And this forces Light into a rash decision. And this is where we see that him lose control.
Yeah,
And
for the
the
first
way-
time as
The
well.
way he writes it in the book.
Diagonally. Right. Big
And it made a
right.
point of showing a couple of the ones above, small, very neat writing. And it was,
Yeah, it was
scrawled
controlled,
in a whole page,
Yeah.
and that they really had just completely lost any semblance of control.
It's almost like a if you're not with me, you're against me scenario.
Yeah, it was almost disbelieving of how can you not believe in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
If you were to look at it from like a serial killer profile, this would be where he's deviated from his MO almost. As you said, it's very neat, it's very methodical. He knows who he's targeting. He has an MO, and when this happens, he's lost control. He's like rage killing almost.
Well,
And-
straight away we see how the traps, what L's learned from it, because he knows straight away that he doesn't need to be present to kill.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing to give away. very
Ryuk's
quick.
reaction is priceless in this whole thing. You said he's like the voice of
Yeah, he's the voice of the audience.
Yeah.
That quip is so quick, and he
got you
said
there,
it
like,
as I was thinking it. And it was,
This guy's pretty good. He got you there. It was.
And
it
we
was
were all
great.
nodding at the time. We were just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh yes, oh yes.
Oh,
It was
yes.
such a satisfying scene to watch fall into place. And
That
it was-
payoff was just so perfect
It was.
with that one. What you would almost call a cheesy one-liner, but it wasn't. It just topped off that whole like scene and
Yeah.
moment. And what I liked is this episode. Like, we see Light rise to this challenge after losing control. He gathers himself, and that demeanour comes straight back. He puts his face back on, essentially, and he's like, no, right, I've messed up, but you want to challenge me? Let's go.
At least we don't have an L who just comes to a conference dressed as a ninja.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like in the last one.
I mean, when
Try and kill me.
I'd almost wiped that from my mind. Well done.
You're welcome.
No.
Anytime.
But I like the sign-off on this episode with Ryuk saying they're more than interesting. Like, escalates from humans so interesting to humans are so fun.
Yeah.
And we see here, like, that escalation's really good in Ryuk's
He's
mind.
enjoying
And
the ride.
I think we were all a bit like, because we were going to cover a different episode, and we were just like, let's watch episode 3.
Yeah.
And I think by this point, it really hooks people in.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's got me hooked.
And then you get the ultimate parallel between them when they're both saying that they are justice.
Yeah.
They are the law!
Yeah.
I'm seeing a running theme in here.
Is it law?
Oh, as I put down here, I am Justic.
Just
Who's Dick? I don't know.
love it. So, you got anything else to say on episode 2? Or are we okay to move on to 3?
I'm fine with moving on to 3.
Yeah, because I mean, again, the story doesn't stop. It just keeps hammering away at the moment.
You were like, as well, you said some interesting stuff after the end of the episode, though, about how you knew what was going to happen, but it's still got you.
I mean, that what I was referring to there was when they revealed L in the news broadcast, and given how mysterious he was initially, only coming across in a voice on a laptop, it seemed a little bit too good to be true. And again, having that knowledge of how these kind of things usually play out.
Well, and you've
how
seen the
to
movie, the
anticipate
Netflix movie.
the Netflix movie as well, knowing how much he wanted his identity to remain a mystery. This seemed a bit too good to be true, so I thought it was part of a trick. And lo and behold, I was paid off. I was correct. Although what was more satisfying was that there was so much more revealed to me afterwards. It was like congratulations, you were right, but guess what's behind door number 3, door number 4,
Here's
door
a
number
lot
5.
more for
There
you.
was a lot more there, which is why I love this scene so much, because it kind of said, okay, that guy was on death row. There was absolutely no way you could have known about him, because we hid him from the media and the press and the fact that he was due to be executed and what he'd done, all the rest of it. So now we've deduced that you need these media stories to be able to find the people you're targeting.
Yeah, you have to know about it.
Exactly. Then he went on to say, oh, we can deduce you in Japan, we can deduce you in this larger city. And, you know, the way they kept narrowing down, it almost felt like he was caging in.
That net closing.
Yeah. And it was a beautiful way that they did it, you know. So
off that, what I found interesting, I just remembered, is I remember thinking at the time of, we know through the whole thing Light only kills criminals. So when he kills Al, it's really out of character. It's almost that challenge, and he thought he's got rid of it. But when we learned that the guy was already a criminal anyway, I thought it was interesting because that still maintains Light's record of only killing criminals.
But he didn't know that.
No, he didn't know
And
that.
he didn't kill him for that reason.
exactly. Yeah.
But he has only still killed criminals at this point.
And Elle has sacrificed
Elle's
a criminal in that process as well, which might be worth thinking about.
Yeah, that Elle's got that.
They both experimented.
Yeah.
Like if you look at if we go back to the first episode, when I was saying about them experimenting with the Death Note to see if this would kill this person, Elle's essentially done the same thing, but his level of, and they both have that level of disbelief there about it.
Yeah. I thought this was really where you almost have the two play like that. You get it in a lot of the sword fights in movies of they kind of test each other out in that those first couple of blows, and then they're standing off and kind of like, okay, yeah, I've got the measure of you kind of thing, and you get that by the end of this of they're both kind of almost looking at each other going, right, the game's set up, let's play it. And I thought that was a really good way for it to finish.
A nice cat and mouse game has been started.
I equate it to a chess game.
Yeah.
More than anything else, like they're both going to make those sacrifices and moves that don't necessarily work.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. And so on to episode 3, we see instantly we're in the police station with like the meeting of all the police there.
All hands on deck.
Yeah, we're hearing copycats to start. So people are like claiming to be Kira. We're hearing people who obviously the crazies who think they know stuff about Kira, whereas it's obviously don't.
And because they don't know who Kira is, they've taken down every single.
They're having to run down every lead, like go interview every single person. It's all consuming at this point.
Yeah. Elle suspects that Kira is a student based on the times that the deaths occur.
Yeah.
Like they don't occur during school hours, and they're more frequent during school holidays.
But I found it interesting in this as well, though, that we see the guy point out that violent crime is being reduced
that as well,
due to Kira.
He doesn't praise that though.
No, he just points it out. It's a matter of fact.
Yeah.
But he stops short of praising it, but you almost feel like it was implied.
Yeah, he did apologise to the chief of police afterwards
about
it, but the chief of police just shrugs it off like, yeah, well, if you praised him, then we'd have had a problem. But
different conversation. But it was almost left there, as you said, the way it can be posed to the audience. That seemed to be what that was there to do. It was go, there's the information. Do with it what you will.
You think?
Yeah. What do you think?
It's not talking down to the audience.
That played into that greater moral argument that I think you have over Light's actions of Valentine. What he's doing is reducing crime. So is that actually a good thing? And again, it plays into that overall conversation. I think mentally you should have over do you support Light or not?
Yeah. Or is that a question of liberty?
Yeah.
You know,
which I think
should you have the right to make your mistakes and then suffer the consequences of those mistakes?
Well, should your consequences be death?
Yeah. Or
can it be the lesser of prison and stuff like that? That's, I suppose, the argument there. So we see Light at home at this point, and he's helping his sister out with the homework.
His sister isn't as brilliant as he is. She's a normal girl.
So we hear that the dad's home. So we've met the mum, we've met the sister, both of whom weren't in the film, and then we hear the dad's home. So this is where we see the reveal that the chief of police is actually Light's dad, and almost further proof that it's not gonna Light won't be on him necessarily, because who would suspect him?
Yeah,
and there's another reason not to.
And then on top of that, that's how he knows so much.
So then we see him hack into the dad's laptop to get the investigation information.
Yeah, he's just on the home network, isn't he? So he can access any of it.
And this is where he's going, oh, they're focusing here, so I need to change up what I'm doing. And so this is where we start to see those chess moves starting to come in, and
he starts taking advantage of the things the book can do.
Well, he's betraying trust at this point as well, which I thought was interesting. This is like another bad thing he's doing. He's betraying his dad's trust and violating the privacy.
Here's the thing as well, when it comes to the way heroes are often portrayed in fiction, is that they come from broken homes a lot of the time. You'll notice that. Look at Batman.
Those orphans.
They're orphans, or they
The
like
tragic event.
they've got Light has a perfect family.
Yeah.
He's really privileged. He comes from a middle class family, and he's absolutely sorted.
He's one of the brightest in the country.
Yeah, he's got everything together.
Yeah.
Interesting point. Yeah.
And maybe this plays in to why he's so bored at the beginning.
Because everything's so stable.
Everything's so stable and so perfect for him.
Maybe.
He doesn't. He
Interesting.
can't fail, no matter what direction his life takes.
So
He can't fail.
are you proposing that this normality, this kind of mundane, everyday kind of safety that he has, is a bad thing?
Yeah, all I'm saying is I think he's seeking out making his life more challenging.
Mm.
That's all. That's all I think about that.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a good point. Yeah.
Well done, you. You get a cookie.
A what?
Where's the cookies?
Yeah, you get it later.
There's always the promise of a cookie.
That's how I got in that van.
Twice. He's like the same guy as well. He still didn't have the cookie.
Got my cookie now? Yeah, it's in the van.
I don't know why his cookies tasted like a meaty sausage.
Oh God.
So after while we're seeing Light break into his dad's laptop and say use the information properly, we see Ryuk actually basically say he's underestimated him. And I thought it was interesting, that journey from him kind of saying, "Oh, you're different," to then praising him in the last episode, to in this one actually just saying, "I underestimated you."
Yeah.
And I thought that was quite an interesting dynamic of how that relationship's almost changed in a way that one thinks of the other. And I thought that was, and also at this point I've just wrote the music's so good.
Oh, it's so good.
I mean, I'd already thought that several times, but the music for me was really making these scenes.
It's so different to the music in the film as well.
Yeah.
Music in the film's all this 80s synth sort of stuff, and whereas in here you've got the big choirs for one thing,
Yeah.
and then you've also got the like L's theme.
You've got
that's
like
in
what
there.
I call the thinking theme.
Yeah.
And then you've got like the action theme. It's yeah, they only have two real main songs in it,
Yeah.
or tunes, background music, and I thought it was interesting how they kind of limit themselves almost musically, but that helps the audience out. It helps set the thought process and dynamic.
Well, it's between two people.
Yeah,
That's so you get two different songs. There's duality in this.
yeah,
You know.
very much so. Very much so. And what's interesting here is, so Light makes his move and changes up how he kills people with the timing, and almost like within 2 days, L's onto it.
L knows that.
He just
must
cracks.
have access to
He
police
cracks
files.
that. And this is why I think it's more like a chess game,
Yeah.
because it's like Light made his move and L's reacting to it quite quickly.
But Light claims that he knew that L would figure this out because he wants the police to do his job for him.
Yeah,
He
Fine.
wants the
He
police
wants
to
that
find out
rift
who L
created.
is. Yeah.
yeah. I thought, and then
He's a sneaky little bastard.
he is.
So much smarter than the movie. He's
Oh, I
so
mean,
much smarter.
I think this is why it works, is because these
1,000,000%.
two are on the same level.
Yeah.
They really are almost identically, like, I was going to say identically similar, which is a really crap phrase, but they're just
Their
on
thought
the,
process is identical.
yeah, they're on the same path,
Yeah.
just wanting different outcomes. And so after we start to see this rift, because they confirm he has to see the face, and he had like
The task force
we see
just
the
start handing out the
resignations,
resignations. Yeah.
that kind of almost that ultimatum of why should we do our job if you're hiding kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's teased and
Yeah, you
starts
already
here.
start to see the ripples occurring.
Yeah. And then we see like almost telling Ryuk off of, I'm not going to talk to him in public because I'm not crazy. I don't want people to think I'm crazy. And then he's like, fine, I'm just going to talk, you listen. And he gives him a bit of a dressing down almost at
Yeah,
first.
I'm not picking sides in this.
Yeah.
I'm just here for me.
And then I love it because he's like, but I am getting annoyed with this guy following us. And I thought it was brilliant. And it was just like, okay, now you know that I'm not on anyone's side. This guy is creeping me the hell out.
Yeah. I'm an 8 foot, like,
demigod monster, but I'm creeped out by a guy following
Because
us.
I have to follow you, he's following me.
It looks like he's watching me.
Yeah, and I don't like that.
He's undressing me with his eyes.
But now Light knows that he is being followed, and that the investigation has started on the police force.
And this episode ends where we stopped watching. We see Ryuk explain the Shinigami ideal.
Yes.
At this point, and I thought that first he explains
He's using that forbidden fruit again.
He explains that this is the difference between the Shinigami and humans. One, he explains how the Shinigami survive, and
they take the remaining life force.
Yeah, he kind of gives you the exposition on why the second point's important. And he's like, 2, you can have the eyes we have, so you can see everyone's name and how long they've got left.
I like that. It was very like tempting kind of.
And it was the devil's deal.
Yeah, I was about to say a deal with the devil.
Yeah. See, that would be, if I had to say it like that, better.
Do you want to say it again?
No, fuck it.
Okay. We don't edit anything on this, just so you're aware.
Not at all.
No.
What do you make of L? I'm talking about, I suppose, the mise-en-scène, if you want to call it that, is in his room. What very little we actually see of his room, it seems to be barren, like empty.
Just a computer.
Yeah, it's very minimalist.
Well, we've never seen his face,
either.
we've just seen the lower half of it, and like,
what do you think
a
the
microphone.
significance is, though?
I think it shows again how they're both hiding behind personas at this point. I mean, we'll get onto this later, probably.
And also, I think it shows that L doesn't have any other focus than the task at hand.
Yeah.
As well,
There's
no other distractions.
You were
around.
saying they're both focused individuals earlier, or like being a focused individual, focused on education and focused on this. L is wholly focused on one thing.
Yeah.
Whereas Light has a couple of things to think about. So that was the end of the 3 episodes we watched. Just quickly, what did you think, Joe? Because
of the animated series that we just watched, I think it's terrific. I think it's something I would definitely watch again.
How did you feel it compared to the movie?
It didn't really. That's the thing. Or should I say, the film didn't compare to it. If one of the things that was really starting to aggravate me is as I was watching this was how much potential there was to make a very interesting, well-made film. And if I was being honest, I think the target audience was maybe misled or like misdirected. I think they could have really gone down the Seven route. Put David Fincher involved. Put him at the helm.
Not Kevin Spacey, unfortunately. Not now.
No, well,
We don't talk about that.
Topical. Yeah. Trying to keep us relevant.
Until that becomes irrelevant. I don't know. But anyway, yeah.
I'm sure that will come up during the X-Men films.
What do you mean, O.J. Simpson?
But the fact he's free now.
Yeah.
Bill Cosby? What? With the touching and the trooping and the touching and the touching.
So...
I'm not covering my
just,
face out of a fart this time.
So just as something to you, Joe.
Sorry,
I was just going to ask, do you think, with how this series, like you've seen, we've watched about an hour worth of anime, with how it's crafted it over the hour, do you think this premise can work as maybe a 2.5 hour film? Or do you think that it has to work more like a TV series because of how much it's got to do?
Yeah, you both mentioned, I think at some point last week, that it would have worked much better as maybe like a 10-part Netflix series. It would have given you much more of an opportunity to flesh out the characters. And I think, to be honest, I'm becoming more biased towards that form of entertainment anyway, because I see what it can do as a potential. I mean, looking at Westworld, the TV series, compared to the film, and there was just more opportunity for character development, for story, for plot.
Well, you look between HBO and Netflix, like their original content now is very much they're allowed to play with characters more and create those like plot weaves and mess with the audience's mind when it comes to Westworld.
It gives you so much opportunity and so much more opportunity. I'm not saying.
So do you think it was a misstep in the film that they tried to condense this whole concept down? I mean, the Japanese have tried to condense it to a film, and that was panned as well. And is this a concept?
They were more successful overall because they had about 3 of them, didn't they?
Yeah. But do you think that this film maybe had to be a trilogy, like that full arc playing over multiple films.
I don't think it could be solely blamed on the idea that it wasn't just produced into a live action TV series. I think a lot of the blame had to lie on how it was done, how it was approached.
It was made dumb.
I'm not blaming the film for like the content of the film. I'm just saying, as a property, I'm not sure it can be made into one film.
It's fair enough.
I think as a property, it maybe needs that longer form because it is such a clever and woven plot.
It's pretty epic as well.
Because if you try to condense that, so even give it 3 hours, say in a film, a very long film, can that complex plot be simplified enough and still hold what makes it special?
I think it could be done like the way the Hunger Games is done. As a multi-part series, yeah, like Harry Potter films.
So in that case, do you think, with it being 6 Black Edition books, say, could you do 6 movies cover those 6 Black Edition books or manga anyway?
Would people follow 6 films?
Well, that's what I mean. What they did with Harry Potter.
I didn't watch Harry Potter.
But fine, they did with Harry Potter. They did with the Hunger Games. I mean, that was 3 books.
What's the current one? The Maze Runner books?
There's the Maze Runner.
But weren't these all American authors? Or British authors? Or like
Western authors?
Western,
it's pretty unheard of for...
So do you think...
Oh, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Oh,
that's Swedish.
That's still Western, isn't it? Yeah.
Like, do you think that kind of thing would survive being westernised fully? Or do you think it should be left in Japan as well? Because, I mean, that's another comparison to make between the film and the animes. Were they right to try and transfer it to appeal even more to a Western audience?
Well, here's the thing. Otakus and weeboos are absolutely the worst when it comes to someone adapting their property.
Yeah.
They like, there's been talk for years and years about a Cowboy Bebop film being made. And Keanu Reeves wants to be Spike Spiegel in it, and he's a huge, huge fan of the property.
Yeah.
But despite that, and despite how good Keanu Reeves is as an actor, I mean, we've all seen John Wick, right?
Yeah.
So good.
He was even good in The Matrix, and that shows that he can anchor a franchise.
Yeah. They still don't want that to happen, and that's a pretty Western property. I mean, it's all based on American stuff.
Quite Wild West, isn't it?
It's like a Wild Western. It's like a detective. It's a cowboy detective show, you know. But they don't want that to happen, and I think as well that they might be a bit jaded because of the way it's been done in the past. I mean, we only have to look at Death Note.
I mean, you look at
that.
I think Death Note particularly represents a massive misstep for Netflix.
Yeah,
I think it's one of the first big missteps.
A place known for quality.
I mean, they've done. I think a big misstep in comic sense of they've got the Marvel properties and they're doing fantastic. They're knocking them out of the park. I mean, Punisher's just come out, but all of those properties have a second series before the Punisher. So there's going to be a season 3 of Daredevil, season 2 of Jessica Jones, season 2 of Iron Fist, season 2 of Luke Cage.
And season 2 of Defenders as well.
Has that been announced?
It'll probably happen.
I'm hoping they don't. Like, the characters go their own ways at this point. I mean, it's possible that they might. I'm hoping anyway they'd pick up Moon Knight as a Netflix series. It works very well. But should they have done the same here instead of tried to make it a movie? Because could they not get maybe the rights to do a longer form content? Was it just someone approached them and said, "Oh, we're doing this movie. Do you want to distribute it?"
Anime fans would have bitched anyway.
They would have, but like with Dredd, I think people after the first Dredd film were so burned they maybe were like, and it's up to the film to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
And you're always going to get people with any property who love the property too much to see it become something else. But with this, I think this burnt so many people that we won't see a proper westernised adoption of it anymore because people are so butthurt from it.
Oh, yeah.
Rightly so, in my opinion.
I'm butthurt from it. I don't get butthurt very easily, but I'm butthurt from it.
It's like a fucking cavern down there, isn't it?
Well,
echoes and everything.
Well, it was before, but you know. How is your dad, by the way? Hi there, guys. I'm sorry, we just had to delete that little bit there. What I said was inappropriate, and this is a public apology.
If we did that, every last second word would be public apologies.
Public apology. Public apology.
Yeah.
Public apology.
PC, bro.
So, but yeah, do you think that, like, with people being so butthurt on the film, and
Are you literally using the phrase butthurt? I thought it was just a turn of phrase at first.
no, I'm using the phrase butthurt. So there's some other comparisons we can make, though, of how did you find the depiction of Elle? Because I thought that was like both Light and Elle, I suppose. The depictions of the characters in it. Did you, apart from Willem Dafoe, who we know was really good in the role of Ryuk, I felt that the film was beyond lacking of pretty much every other character.
Well, there wasn't that sense of duality between them in the film.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just Elle was actually pretty accurate in terms of his mannerisms,
Yeah.
but he
came across things.
was more childish in the film.
But was that because it was aimed more at a teen audience? Should it have been
Absolutely.
aimed at more maybe an R-rated audience?
There was no question that this was aimed at a teen audience, and it probably shouldn't have been. It should have been maybe geared towards them in as much as like product placement and the.
So should it have been geared towards maybe like an 18 to 30 range instead of a maybe like.
Wasn't it rated 18? No.
I'm not sure. I don't think it was.
Hmm.
It might have been, but that's probably because it was trying to be edgy.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I think it should have been. It should have been aimed at the fans. I think that's it. Because it's all well and good trying to get other people into this franchise and everything, but the franchise itself is so good that once people give it a chance, they'll like it anyway. I mean, we just have to use Joe as an example for that.
So yeah, for me, if it was a case of you presenting me with the film or the anime, and if you said, "Oh, watch the film first, see what you think, and then go forward from there," I would just drop the whole thing.
Didn't the
If
film
if
feel a
it's-
bit like that license film of we're going to lose the license if we don't make something, so let's just thrust something out that will just allow us to make something good down the line, like the fantastic,
Fantastic.
to keep the license.
Probably.
Does it not smack of that kind of?
Uh,
Because it didn't feel like there was a fan on board helping make this film.
no, it didn't. No.
Not in the same way when we covered Dredd, that was made by people who loved the Dredd.
It felt more like Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
But looking at the comparisons, I mean, you won't be able to talk about this as much, but you were of Mia.
Yeah, or Misa.
Oh,
she's
Misa,
known.
sorry.
Misa
Yeah.
in the series and
Yeah,
Mia
that-
in the
that-
film. Totally different character. Totally different.
Yeah, different everything. I mean,
A happy-go-lucky, lovable character. Maybe a little bit annoying in parts, but that's part of her charm.
yeah, I think she's designed like that.
Yeah, yeah.
She annoys Light and
Yeah.
sure.
But
Sorry,
she-
Joe.
but
I
she-
know this is going to
she's
bore
kinda-
you a bit.
she's
but-
kinda
No,
like-
well,
She's
obviously-
kind of like Harley Quinn to his Joker in a way. Because
yes,
he's very abusive towards her.
yes,
He's using her.
deceptive.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
He's using her because she has a death note,
Yes.
basically. And that's all. And she worships him. So it's pretty much got that same dynamic. But then we also see, because there's a bit later on where Light loses all of his memories of the death note in a big plan that he's got to get it all back and everything. And we see his personality towards her change.
Mm.
He becomes a good boyfriend. He becomes very loving
That's
and
because he's
caring.
got his overarching evil plan
Yeah.
going around in his head at that point, 'cause he
And-
can't remember it.
And also the addiction of the death notes taken away from him.
But I found it interesting in the anime of as soon as he gets that memory back, you see that instant switch back to that manipulative, deceptive,
Dickhead.
deaf
kid.
yeah, and he very much. I thought that couldn't be played out in a film as such. Like that's a whole thing in itself. And while you're trying to deal with this Light L situation, I thought like a Death Note film would struggle to also incorporate how that other dynamic works.
Yeah.
And I think that would be like the amount of stuff I think you'd have to cut out of the anime series to make the film work
The best
isn't worth it.
The best Death Note film you could probably make is something that's inspired by Death Note, but is its own complete thing. But takes the duality
Like a
and the cat
spin-off.
and mouse game in
Like
it.
a tie-in spin-off.
Well, not
kinda.
even that. Just something that takes it, you know? That basically rips off the story,
Yeah.
okay? But changes things up so that it is different.
Or maybe drop like Misa out and just have it focus on the Light L
Yeah.
battle,
Yeah, it doesn't need...
but not follow it as it does.
It doesn't need any shitty teenage romance in.
No. Doesn't need that teenage angst.
No, it just doesn't.
I think
need
that's what this lacks.
edgelord bullshit.
Like these first 3 episodes in particular, they lack that angst that anime normally has. And like manga in particular is full of teenage angst, full of it.
Yeah.
A lot of them are anyway. Like, that's a very broad brush thing to say, but a lot of them do have that.
Is that why you suppose the film went that way?
I think it is. I think that the Americans look at anime as cartoons, as kids' cartoons.
Normal people
And
scare me.
I really think that affects me. Like me. that affects, like, because they perceive it as, oh, it's just a cartoon, like Pokemon. And they go, oh, it's just a kids thing. So they aimed it at a teen audience, not realising that it's actually, no, it's a lot more adult. And they did the same with comic book movies for ages.
Yeah.
And then realised, oh, this can be a property for adults, and made it like The Dark Knight.
They didn't realise it's a supernatural detective show.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's essentially everything it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I suppose, just to close up, what people thought about it and what score would you give it? So, Jamie?
I mean, I do love it. I think it's great. I'm going to give it... Are we doing stars or are we doing out of 10?
Out of 5 we've been doing so far.
Out of 5. I'll give it 4.5.
Joe, based on what you've seen, we can only rate what we've seen. So, what you've
I mean, I really enjoy it. Not something I would have, gone for
Gone out
if
of
you
your
hadn't
way to watch.
recommended. But despite that, I would give it a 4. Just really well made. Well done.
I'd probably go for, again, I haven't seen the whole anime. I've seen up to the end of the L arc.
L Saga, yeah.
Yeah. I'd probably give it a 4. I found that the anime in parts slowed down and bogged down, but like I say, compared to the movie, it'd be a 5. So. So yeah.
Whereas the movie is minus.
Yeah. Any parting comments on it?
I'd recommend it. I mean, even anybody who's not an anime fan, watch this.
I think it's gripping enough that I think Death Note is actually a really good introduction to anime.
Yeah,
because
we
it
were
is
saying
quite
before,
Western.
It's a gateway drug.
Yeah,
It's your weed. It's your beer. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Gets you into
slowly.
it gets you into the harder stuff. Eventually, you're watching tentacle hentai.
That's your Tuesday night sorted then.
No,
I definitely
Tuesday
think,
nights is fisting night.
I definitely think Death Note is a very accessible anime that allows people to realise that it's not just for kids. It's not just Pokemon or Digimon or Yu-Gi-Oh!
Digimon's fucking awesome though.
Yeah, it is.
It's so good. Yeah,
I'm not going to argue that. So anyway, I've been Haz. You can find me on Twitter at Valkyrie Rising. Jay, where can they find you?
Find me at J Horner Illustration on the Instagrams and the Facebooks, and J Horner on Twitter. And also, you can find us All Star Supercast. At All Supercast?
At All Supercast.
Yeah, that's the handle.
And Joe, I look forward to hearing your cover band in future. Cover more than just Cars by Gary Newman.
No.
No, just that one.
I look forward to seeing you here in your car, where you're driving around, and I don't know the words, but I like to sing the tune of Cars. Do-do. 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 You can all go away. We finished this podcast. I am done with you, and I'm telling my mum about your ass. Do-do. 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 Go away.